A computer system such as JAC is only as good as the clinician using it. Prescribers, it's your responsibility to check what you've prescribed to ensure it's not an overdose or a duplication and that it's safe and appropriate for your patient. This is particularly important when prescribing high-risk medicines such as anticoagulants, antibiotics, medicines with a narrow therapeutic index. But of course, all medicines have a risk and therefore you need to be sure about what you're prescribing. Before prescribing anything, it's good practice to check the discontinued RX tab, just to make sure that you're aware of any previous medicines that the patient may have already received, which would affect your prescribing choices. So we're currently in the inpatient RX tab. To go to discontinued RX, you would just click here, and then that will list anything that the patient had previously been prescribed that is no longer prescribed. That does include stat doses and any other medication that may have been subsequently discontinued. When you're looking at this view, you can see there's on the 24th of August, there's a grey square. You click on this legend here and it shows you what these different things mean. It's a key to what it means, and that means the dose has been administered. So there was a stat dose that was administered on the 24th of August. And the patient had also been prescribed paracetamol, but you can see that there's this line through, which means it's been discontinued and there are no doses that had been administered in the last few days from this particular prescription. Going back to inpatient RX, we can also see there's a stat dose here. When you look at today's date, you can see that there is a grey box here. So there is actually a stat dose of gentamicin that has been administered today. That is there because of feedback from end users like yourself that they would like the stat dose to be a bit more visible, even once it's been administered, to remain on the inpatient chart for a bit longer. So what happens now is a stat dose is prescribed, it's administered, it will remain on the inpatient RX tab until midnight, at which point it moves to discontinued RX. Now, this is going to be useful because it will hopefully highlight to you quite quickly that there's already been a stat dose and therefore you don't duplicate doses. However, of course, if that first dose was prescribed at 10 to midnight, it will disappear off at midnight into discontinued RX. So if you're prescribing something at 10 past midnight, for example, it won't necessarily be seen in this view. So that's why it's really important to get that part of your normal practice to go into discontinued RX and just check to make sure that what you're prescribing is appropriate for the patient. Don't make assumptions. If you're not sure about any functionality on JAC, ask the Pharmacy Systems Help Desk, or of course ask one of your ward pharmacists that are available.